Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. Today we're gonna continue with Capturing Christianity, and he's interviewing a guy that went from being a scientist to being a Christian. We did part one, this is part two, and we're gonna look at his journey.
That's one point I want to make. And then the second point was to bring us back to focus on one area that really got you considering leaving atheism.
Right.
And I understand, is it abiogenesis? That's one of
Abiogenesis
the
or-
main
yeah,
things.
mhm.
So tell me more about that. How did that, looking into that, really bring you more toward Christianity, toward theism?
Well, it's interesting because abiogenesis is a very active field of research, and people are looking at it very intensely in various ways. I've done a little bit myself, but
Have you published?
yes, I have
Okay.
one paper published and one that's just about to be approved, both on the
Abiogenesis is the study of how life came to be on Earth, so just brought it in to see that.
same subject, which I'll get to in a second. But as I mentioned, abiogenesis, nobody thinks that it has anything to do with, standard evolution. The general idea among scientists anyway, and the atheist ideas who are not scientists are not worth discussing, but the general science.
It's the same thing. Evolution isn't abiogenesis. Abiogenesis is not evolution. Or biological evolution, however you want to divide it up. But in the last video, part one, check that out. He was trying to act like evolution, biological evolution, which talk about the speciation and how diversification in species came to be when life already came to be, which is the study of abiogenesis. Evolution is totally different from abiogenesis, and he tried to mix them together, try to indicate that they're the same thing, and that's why he doesn't trust or think evolution answers everything when it's not supposed to answer everything.
I think evolution can explain a lot, but there are some key things that it cannot explain, and that includes the origin of life. And that's not my view.
My God. Maybe scientist, very genius guy that's most likely smarter than me. Maybe because evolution does not deal with the origin of life. Boom. There you go. Evolution, people, Christians, atheists, anyone out there, does not deal with the, hear me out, with the development of life on the planet of Earth. It deals with the diversification after life already is formed. Evolution takes its process. The evolutionary theory start from after life already is a thing. Abiogenesis studies life, studies how life came to be on the planet. So evolution doesn't answer to that.
That's a very Darwin said the same thing. Richard Dawkins has said the same thing.
Yeah.
Because
The
because it makes sense. Because it makes sense. Anyways, moving on.
scientific idea is that life began through what's called chemical evolution. And chemical evolution is very different from biological evolution because there's no natural selection. And there's no replication.
There's no mutations.
Yeah, what chemical evolution is when you take chemicals, you put them together, and they either react or they somehow are able to do things only on the basis of chemistry, without any mutation, without any replication, and without any natural selection. And that's pretty hard to do. Jim Tour, who's in this neighborhood,
Yep.
I must point out that nobody is putting it together. It just came together. I mean, the universe itself just came together with planets and galaxies, all of them. Nobody's putting them wherever they are. They just came together. There are laws in the universe that guide their path to be together, and that entire thing to, make up galaxies. It's not like someone is putting them together. That makes no sense. I was just indicating or questioning or trying to make a lead up to, who is putting them together? Ask a dumb question. Is that just stupid thing to do?
Has often said quite strongly and correctly that people who say that we've solved so many problems in abiogenesis, we're almost there, are just wrong. He says it a little more strongly than I do.
I was listening to something with him the other day.
But he's correct.
He's so forceful.
Yeah, he's forceful, but he's right. And I know why he gets frustrated sometimes, because he is a chemist, a very good chemist, and he knows more than anyone that's not how chemistry works. Chemistry, doesn't do things for any reason. Life does things because of natural selection, perhaps, or because of, the way life works, and you can get evolution, but you can't get it started. And I started thinking about this years ago, especially related to one of my interests, which is, how the DNA works by coding the existence of proteins which cause life. And,
Before he finishes point about DNA, I must point out that at least he understand that evolution is a thing. To all the Christians that don't, evolution is factual. Like, there's evidence, factual evidence supporting the theory. It's not just your normal day guesses. It's a scientific theory with factual and evidence supporting its claims.
Stephen Meyer has written about this in Signature of the Cell, and he in his recent book, The Return of the God Hypothesis, he talks a little.
Maybe not the best person to quote, but okay.
A bit about it as well. But I was focusing on one specific aspect, which is critical to the origin of life, to the origin of evolution, and that is the accuracy of self-replication, because nothing in the universe self-replicates accurately other than living cells. No chemical self-replicates, no machine self-replicates, crystals don't self-replicate, even DNA doesn't self-replicate. But a living cell can make copies of itself that are 99.9999% accurate. That's astonishing. How does that happen? It involves a tremendous number of really complex things, including the genetic code, including ribosomes and DNA replication and protein synthesis, things that are just too complicated to describe without.
Complexity does not lead to God. Just because it's complex doesn't mean God. If you're going to use that line of reasoning, then something have to make God. This will continue and it will be an infinite regress. If you're going to put complex thing over another complex thing, complex thing, you're going to just get infinite regress. You can't say God is the first cause when your entire argument is that things are too complex for it not to have a creator. So it doesn't solve a problem to just say God did it.
Slides.
Or without a semester of.
Without a semester of biology, yeah, or chemistry or whatever. So if you have to have self-replication in order to have evolution, how do you get all this? How did that self-replication get there?
Yeah.
It couldn't have evolved because there's no evolution. And that's what I've been studying and what I published on recently. The fact that, in fact, as I assumed, using various models that I'm not going to get into, that there are thresholds. And if you don't start out with a cell that already is pretty good at accurate self-replication, you can't do it. You'll never get living cells and you'll never get evolution going.
As much as I'm intrigued by all this scientific stuff, I did not click on this video to have a lecture about abiogenesis. Yeah, we get it, it's complex. There are many complex things in the universe. The universe itself is complex. How does that lead to God did it, or from atheist to you becoming God? You are complex and you came from evolution. Again, that's what I'm here for, not a lecture.
And as I say, that's been published in a theoretical journal.
Okay. So you've got to get the cell first in order to get it up and going
To get a cell.
and get any
Right.
evolution. But then to get to that point, to get to the first cell, you need just too many things. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, you need too many things that are too difficult to explain through only chemical evolution. So what
is the current like scientific consensus? Is that what's the current scientific consensus about abiogenesis?
I must mention this is the basic God of the gaps. We don't know this stuff. There's holes in what we know about abiogenesis and how life actually came to be. We have an idea, but we don't know everything. So the things we don't know, well, God obviously had to do it. Duh.
Depends who you talk to. If you talk to people who are not working in the field, many of them will say, "Oh yeah, we're getting there. We've got made a lot of progress. We know that amino acids, were in meteors, so they probably, developed or formed in the primeval Earth. We know that nucleotides can make long polymers with RNA. Yeah, that's all true. But the people who are actually the leaders in this field, know the details, and the details are exactly what Jim Tour says. It doesn't happen. You don't get long polymers, you get short polymers. You don't get self-replication, you get annealing, you get junk rather than good stuff. That's what they know. And frankly, I think many of them are getting discouraged. It looks like not a lot of progress has been made. In fact, very little.
Who cares? I'm sorry to be a little rude here, but who actually gives a fuck? How does this relate to you becoming a Christian? Just because it's complex and we don't know this stuff does not mean God did it. You actually have to prove that. This is not evidence for Christianity, for God, for anything. It just means we're learning. We're continually learning and trying to improve our understanding of how life came to be on the planet. It doesn't prove God.
And the numbers of problems just keep expanding. So,
So the alternative that you arrived at was what?
well, so I didn't know.
Clearly, God did it. What else? What other alternative? He's here doing an interview about how he turned to a Christian. Obviously, his alternative was God did it. That is his amazing conclusion.
What I thought there's something missing, and this was how this affected my journey to faith was that it helped break down this absolute certainty that everything is explainable by materialistic science.
Okay.
But I didn't know.
This doesn't make sense, people. It doesn't make sense. You see, things that are complex does not mean, oh, obviously God. And also, which God? Why the Christian God?
Know what the answer was.
Right.
Once I became a believer and I started thinking, well, God is the creator of the universe, but I also said, not just the universe, he's also the creator of life and the creator of human beings, all of which are not explainable by any other means. So, but how? See, that's my question. Because knowing that God did something, to me, is not enough. I want to know a little more details.
Good to know, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. Since God did it, it doesn't really matter how. Miraculously, it did. Like Jesus flew and just rise up to the sky and went into the heavens. How the fuck did that happen? No one knows. But according to the stories, he did. He rose a bunch of people from the dead. How the fuck did that happen? Again, no one knows. But it did. Apparently it happened. And so many people witnessed it. We just have no account of them. No actual eyewitness account. No account from the people that were risen from the dead. How you went from being an actual scientist to not using your critical thinking, your skepticism in everything, or in your belief in Christianity, I don't get. But it does happen. There are scientists that are Christians. There are people that are very, very intellectual and Christians and religious in general. So I guess you do get people like this. I think the here is where we're going to stop. We're going to pick it up again next time. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.